Hey guys, in this video I'm going to teach you how to set the aperture or f-stop on your camera when you're in aperture priority mode or when you're shooting in manual mode. So I have a Nikon camera and a Canon camera, and I'll teach you how to do it on both of those. Now if you have a Sony or a different brand, it will follow along with one of these and be very, very similar to a Nikon or a Canon. So don't feel like just because you have a different type of camera that you're not going to learn. You will. So let's start with a Nikon camera. My shooting mode dial is set to aperture priority mode, which if you haven't learned now, you're going to learn in just a second here. But basically, when we're in aperture priority mode, we look at our top LCD screen to see what our aperture is set to. Now, if it's kind of gone dark, or if you're using your back LCD screen, just press the shutter release button halfway down to wake it back up. Then we use this front command dial to scroll, and I'm going to scroll to my smallest number. Now, your f-stop is determined by your lens. So your numbers might be different than mine because you're using a different lens than I am. So my lowest f-stop number that I can get to is an f2.8. So a low number gives me a large aperture hole. So f2.8 is what I can achieve with this lens. If I scroll the other way, the largest aperture number I can get, or the largest f-stop number, is 22, which is a very small hole. Now, whether I'm in aperture priority mode or manual mode, this is how you select it. It is the same. The only difference is it may be your back command dial or your front command dial. In Nikons, you can adjust through the menus which command dial controls it. So yours might be your back and I used my front, or it might be the front. Also, you may not have a top LCD screen. You will look at it on the back of your screen to see what F number as you scroll the command dial. So that's a Nikon. That's how you adjust your aperture on a Nikon camera. On a Canon camera, it's adjusted differently, whether you're in aperture priority mode or whether you're in manual mode. So in aperture priority mode, which on a Canon is AV, okay, you use the command dial located on the top to scroll to the left to go to your lowest f-stop number. On this lens, it's an f4. So this lens could hit f2.8. This lens can only hit f4. Yours might be able to do a f3.5 or an f5.6, or maybe it's a great lens and can do an f1.8. Now, let me scroll the other way to get to the largest aperture number, which is the smallest aperture hole. There's that converse relationship between the f-stop number and the size of the hole. This lens can hit f22. Now on my on my Canon, when I look at the top LCD screen, it does not say F. It just shows me 22 here. So be careful when you're doing that to notice that 22, it is the F number, or if it says 5.6, that's the F number. Just get used to, as you move this, noticing which number changes on the screen, and that will show you where it's displaying your F number. Again, on Canons, it might be on the back here that you're seeing this. You may not have a top LCD screen, and that's okay. Now let's move into manual mode on the Canon. So I'll change the shooting mode dial to M for manual. Now, the command dial in manual actually adjusts your shutter speed, not your f-stop anymore. And so how you have to do that is on some Canon cameras, you have a button on the back that says AV. Now this one doesn't, but you would hold that AV button down and use the command dial to move it. If you don't have an AV button, like this camera doesn't have, you will actually hold this button up at the top, which has an asterisk by it. So if I hold that down, I now can scroll to the lowest f4.0 or the highest f22. I hold it down and use the command dial to choose between any of those f-stop numbers. So that is how you set your f-stop, or the size of the aperture hole, both on a Nikon camera and a Canon camera.